Hi everyone and welcome to my first tutorial. So today I'm making a baby card. So what I did there was I just stamped some clouds from the Lawn Fawn Bon Voyage set. And I just stamped the clouds and now I'm just trimming them here. And I'm trimming them out. And then here I've stamped one of the penant banners from the Bannerific set, also by Lawn Fawn. And I'm just going to trim this and then set it to one side, and then I'm going to stamp the rest of my images. So I'm doing like a sky scene. If you look there you can see the scene, the sky. I've put all of the clouds, I've just laid them down but I haven't adhered them yet. So I've just stamped the Polaroid from the Say Cheese set, and you can see that there's some black in the window of one of the Polaroids, but that's okay because that's going to be covered up. That second Polaroid stamp, again, that's imperfect, but the square from the centre of that Polaroid is going to have the main image on it, and I'm going to stick that over the top of the outline with the black, so it's okay. And I'm just stamping the sentiment here. So that's the It's a Boy sentiment, and that is using the Sophie sentiment set. And you'll see at the end that I've added an exclamation mark for some added interest. But I did that right at the end and it's not on the video. So now I'm stamping this carousel, and this is from the this is also from a Lawn Fawn set. It's from the Admit 1 set. And I haven't used this image before, so I'm quite interested, or quite excited rather, to use it. And I'll be colouring this in later. So now I'm just cutting out those pennants. And I stamped the pennants on some cardstock. It was basic grey cardstock. And I like to use the red because it's a nice bold colour. But red and blue, I suppose, is very traditional. But I do like using red on cards for little boys. Okay, so now I'm sticking down those clouds. I'm using my big ATG gun, which I love. Once you stick something down with the ATG, it doesn't go anywhere. So I've just finished adhering all my clouds after placing them how I like them. And I'm using my non-stick Tim Holtz scissors just to trim off the edges on the back of the card. And these are really great scissors because you can see my custard bee scissors there. They really don't like glue and other adhesives. They do get stuck together, whereas the Tim Holtz scissors handles that really well. Okay, now the line that I'm drawing here is going to be used for some twine. I'm going to stick the twine down, and then I'm going to adhere those pennants over the top of the twine because I like that added bit of interest, so that that there's some string holding the pennants up there. So after checking where those pennants are, I'm just drawing in the line here. There we go. And then I'm getting my glossy accents, and I'm just going to go over that pencil line with the glossy accents, doing a very thin line there. There we go. Just making sure that there are no gaps and it's got some good coverage. And now I get my twine, and it's a little bit tricky. You have to stick it down and then you need to hold it in place for just a couple of seconds at each point. There we go, just pressing it and holding it down and making sure that it follows that line. I'm just going to go and check it. Brilliant. Now what I've done with the pennants is I'm just sticking some 3D foam squares to the bottoms of the pennants. I haven't bothered to use any glue or anything on the twine. I just didn't think it was necessary because that is not going anywhere, that twine, that is completely stuck down, and the pennant flags, they're not going anywhere either because of the 3D dots. I mean, it's just personal choice, but if you would prefer, of course, you can stick it down with some glue. So I'm just adhering the last one. I started in the centre and then went along each side because it just helps to get everything balanced on the card. Okay, so now I'm trimming off the ends of the twine on either side, and then because twine does fray, what I like to do is just add just a dot of glossy accents on either side, and that will just seal up the end and it will stop it from fraying. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I'm doing is, you can see I've trimmed the images, and I'm just using some tumble glass distress ink to ink up the edges of both of the sets of images. I'm not actually colouring any sky in this image, so it was nice just to ink it up. It just gives it a little bit of added interest. And now I'm just colouring the image with my Copics. So I just stuck with a couple of shades of blue for the carousel, and this dark blue just shows that that little horse is a boy, and you'll see later on with the carousel, with the top and with the bottom, I just go over and over and over some sections just to make them that little bit darker, and it's just using the same colour, because with Copics, when you add the same colour in layers on top of itself, it does darken it by a shade each time. So it's a good way of using, just a few pens, but making the colours quite different, and it also gives you that in-between shade that you may not own yet, or that slight colour that may even not exist. So it's quite helpful. And now I'm just colouring the little horses very quickly. And to differentiate, I just decided to colour them in the same colour, and then, as I said about darkening the shades, just in that little horse in the centre, which is the main one in the image, I just went over his body a few times with the same colour. I'm just adding some shading here, and I think can't actually remember which colours they are. I think it's E33 and E35 actually. Those are the two colours. And I didn't actually use the E35 that much. I just used it once, I think, and then the rest I just went over and over the image again with the E33. And then I'm just going in with a darker brown colour, just to add in the tails and the manes on those two little girl horses. That's what those two little horses are. I added some lilac to their saddles, so you could tell the difference. And then the centre horse, it's going to have a blonde mane and a blonde tail, and this is because I'm making it for a friend who is pregnant, and I can just imagine a little blonde baby for her. Maybe wrong, but that's why I've just added those little blonde accents. I do love to make cards a little bit more personal for people when I'm making them specifically for people. And here I'm just going over that blonde hair with milky white. I can't remember what the shade of Copic is. And here I'm just adding, with the E35, I'm just adding a colour to their noses because those were also plain. Okay, so now I'm just tying my twine around the top because I'm actually using a sketch here. The sketch is for the current Lawnscaping challenge, and I thought I'd just use the penant banner, and here I thought I'd just wrap it round a couple of times and tie a bow. So that's what I'm doing now. And I don't really have great tips on tying bows. I do like to adjust, especially with twine. I mean, with ribbon I find it a little bit easier, but with twine you just have to go back and adjust it a few times, which is what I did. And I trim the ends, and then I'm just adhering everything together, or just laying everything down actually. Just wanted to check where that image would go because I was a bit worried it was going to come off the page. So I'm just rounding those corners of the patterned piece, and then I'm just rounding the corners of the card base as well. I love rounding corners. I just think it gives a lovely soft touch, and it's also something that you don't see in shop-bought greeting cards really, so I do like that little personal touch. And then I'm just going to stick everything together, so again using my ATG, and the reason that I decided to go around the card base today is because I've got those pennant flags on the piece that I'm sticking onto it, so I didn't want to flatten them or distort them in any way. Right, so now what I've decided to do is to just go around the edges of that piece with the tumble glass distress ink, and that will give it some nice colour there, just give it a bit of interest, because what I actually meant to do on this blue background was to stamp like a background stamp, just to give the sky a bit of texture, and I forgot to do that, so next best thing, just do some distressing. So here I'm just adhering it down. And I've adhered down the Polaroid, and I'm just putting the image over the top. And I'm just turning up those flags right at the end, just to give it some lift, and when you look at it then you can see that 3D effect. And I'm just finishing off the card with some little gems, some red gems for some interest. It really just finishes off the card really well. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching. Please rate the video, I really appreciate it, and I hope to catch you again next time. Thanks, bye.